happy October. What a better way to start up a new month than with a new video series. Right here on this channel, I'll be starting a new video series, which I'll be calling The Adventures of FibroGirl. These videos will be completely about fibromyalgia. For my first video, I really want to center on just fibromyalgia in general. I touched on my own personal story with fibromyalgia in my first video, so now I just want to kind of elaborate more on what fibromyalgia actually is. Fibromyalgia is a chronic pain condition that affects 10 million Americans. 9 out of 10 of those are women, but it can also affect men. Some of the most common symptoms are chronic widespread body pain, cognitive issues, extreme fatigue, sleep problems, as well as depression. As I talked about in one of my previous videos, there are a lot of overlapping conditions that go along with having fibromyalgia, such as lupus, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue, migraines, restless leg syndrome, and arthritis. Now, fibromyalgia is not a contagious condition. A person really has to go through a triggering event, and that is what sets off the fibromyalgia in that person. A triggering event can be anything from infection, surgery, physical trauma, psychological stress, and fibromyalgia can possibly even be genetic. Now, the diagnosis is probably one of the hardest parts of fibromyalgia because the diagnosis itself is not the easiest thing to get. As I've previously said that there's no real test for fibromyalgia, the way I was tested for fibromyalgia was that they did a tender point test, which they just kind of prod and poke you in the most tender parts of your body. So it would be your shoulder blades, the back of your arms, back of your knees, your back, stuff like that. And you have to have 11 out of the 18 tender points to be considered a person with fibromyalgia. You also have to have widespread chronic pain for 3 or more months. The other way they can diagnose you is to test for a lot of other medical conditions. I myself was tested for ALS, muscular dystrophy, MS, and they kind of have to go through all that testing to finally get to that conclusion that it is fibromyalgia. The tests I had to go through were a nerve conduction test and an electromyogram, and basically those were just sticking needles in the most sensitive parts of my body and cranking up the electricity to see if my muscles were dead or not. And I was negative for all those tests, which I am very thankful for, but I did end up being diagnosed with fibromyalgia in the end. I also had an MRI just to make sure I didn't have any broken bones or anything like that. And initially I had an ultrasound in my legs, which is where the pain originated, for blood clots, because that is what they thought in the beginning that it was. Now, we've just recently hit a huge milestone in the medical community for fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia officially has its own diagnostic code for doctors to use when they're actually diagnosing you. Before, it was listed as myalgia or mitosis, which was a completely different code, and it doesn't really cover all the things that fibromyalgia really entails. So this is super exciting, and it's really going to get fibromyalgia out there because it is in the diagnostic code book, and so you can't say, what's fibromyalgia? It's definitely not a real thing. It's in the book. Now, once you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia, it's really important to start managing your pain as soon as possible. And some of the ways you can manage your pain is through medicine or through alternative therapies. Some of the medications currently being prescribed to treat fibromyalgia are Lyrica, Cymbalta, and Savella. I've mentioned before that I myself don't take any medication for fibromyalgia, but fibromyalgia, once you get diagnosed, you really have to find the right path for you. So whereas the medication I didn't think was right for me, it could be the perfect thing to help manage your pain. Some of the alternative therapies that can help, and which I've tried a lot of, are acupuncture, chiropractic work, yoga, massage. I use a TENS unit, which is sends electric, I don't want to say electric shock, but it sends electricity to your muscles and kind of massages them out that way. And then something I also do is aromatherapy because it really helps me. I don't know why, but certain smells can like really calm me down, and getting rid of your stress is a huge part of treating fibromyalgia. Another way to manage your pain is through lifestyle changes, so that's things such as diet, exercise, and changing bad habits. Some people that can help you manage your pain would be a rheumatologist, which they specialize mostly in arthritis and rheumatic illnesses. You can also see a pain management specialist. and that person can kind of help you get all your doctors together. You might have a neurologist or rheumatologist, and they'll kind of just keep you on track with managing your pain. So other specialty doctors that kind of help treat fibromyalgia could be a psychologist to help with depression and anxiety, or also a physical therapist, because they can definitely help in some aspects of stretching out your muscles, kind of getting you all loosey-goosey so you don't have as much pain. So something that's super important for people with fibromyalgia to have is resources, such as places to get new information on what's coming out and support for people with fibromyalgia. And the resources that I follow and actually are a part of are the National Fibromyalgia and Chronic Pain Association and Leaders Against Pain. Another new resource that's just been created by my good friend Millie Velez, who I had the pleasure of meeting when I went to the National Fibromyalgia and Chronic Pain Association conference last October. It is called the Fibromyalgia Care Society of America, and it's really aimed to educate and give support to people with fibromyalgia as well as their friends and family and the community as well. I'm so super proud of her for creating this, and I can't wait to see what amazing things she does with it. I had the honor of helping to plan the Caterpillar Walk, which was the first fibromyalgia walk in New York City, with her as well as a bunch of other friends that we met at the conference, and I know she is a very, very capable person of making big changes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any more questions about fibromyalgia, get on Twitter, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, and use the hashtag AskFibroGirl, and I will be answering some of your guys' questions in an upcoming video. Bye!